viewers, I'm Jasmine here today at the studio, and I will be bringing you a brief history on the impacts of communist social reforms. The impact on women is the first positive effect. They ban the need of obedience of women to their families. This means that they don't have arranged marriage. Other than that, they ban killing baby girls, so as a result, there were more female babies after the social reforms. Lastly, child marriage was no longer allowed as it was thought to be a cruel thing to do to the women, because it was cruel for the immature girls. It was also common for Chinese girls to keep their feet small by wrapping their feet up with pieces of cloth to restrict their feet to grow bigger. This made most Chinese girls' feet swollen, making them difficult to walk. Last but not least, Chinese girls often had to be prostitutes when they have been thrown away by their families. The impact on health is the next positive effect. With communist social reforms, now we could have less of a chance for having dysentery, which is an illness that causes diarrhea with blood. Opium was destroyed too, and they stopped trading with England. The impact on education was also as great. This was because the changes made were the introduction of pinyin, because Mandarin was going to be made easier for farmers. Another point of interest was in setting up mandatory primary education so there will be more educated people. By the time of Mao's death in 1976, the amount of literate people jumped to 70% from its previous 20%. Now let's go to Nathan in the forbidden city of Beijing.
Thank you, Jasmine. So, the Great Leap Forward, or Taoyuqin in Mandarin, was a campaign that was launched by Chairman Mao Zedong to modernize China. However, it was a massive failure because China was an agricultural country. That means a country that's economy is based on farming. You can't just change a country of farmers into a country of robot makers. So, to motivate the people to work harder, Mao decided to take their food. However, as so often in history, if you take people's food, they can't get anything to eat, and without anything to eat, they work less productively. And in the end, what was meant to be motivation caused 40 million Chinese people to lose their lives. And as a result of the Great Leap Forward, almost 2 generations of Chinese people were wiped out. Also, many people in China actually despise education because, as you see, education was seen in China as a Western ideal, and that's the entire purpose of the revolution, to get rid of Western ideals. And so Mao decided that it's okay if you don't attend secondary education as long as you attend primary education. Why is this a problem? The main reason is that many of China's chairmen, politicians, they didn't even get past universities. So that means that their country is vastly uneducated, and it makes running the country a lot harder. Mao actually also wanted to get rid of the old China, which he saw as a failure, because as he saw it, many of China's problems were related to these old Chinas. The first thing he did was that he destroyed many of Beijing's traditional buildings, houses, and replaced them with communist-style buildings. And also, he decided to ban almost all religions in China. And if you were caught practicing religion in public, you could be punished severely. He even went as far as changing the Chinese script, the Hanzi, from traditional Chinese into simplified Chinese. That is the reason why, if you go to Google Translate, you will see that there is traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese. Finally, Mao also hated intellectuals because, as he saw it, they could change the government, they could overthrow the government without even launching an active revolt. So what he decided to do was that he was going to persecute them. However, this made Mao such a big hypocrite. He wanted to educate his people, but if no one educated is allowed to be in the country, then how can anyone run the country properly? That is all. Thank you.
And for enlightening us with some of the failures of the reform. Now, besides these previous points, in relation to educated people, properly trained doctors were actually hated by the people, due to the fact that they are educated and know how to perform work professionally. This led Mao to force him to clean the hospital, manage the lawns, etc. However, it instead caused medical care to decline in China, as doctors spent more time mowing the lawns, mopping the floors, than actually treating patients. The final thing relating to all of this is even though education is free, it doesn't mean that the facilities for education are free. Parents still have to pay for the books, pencils for the students, and many families in China could not afford this. The concept of free education is basically a lie, as going to school is free, but the school supplies still need to be bought. That's it for the history of Mao Zedong social reforms. Have a lovely evening, and we'll see you next time.